Welcome, welcome, welcome to this Wise Women Roundtable. Oh my goddess, do we have a lot of cool things for you today? And we're going to start with this is something that's been in my field, and I think it's been in the field for a lot of people that I've talked to. They keep telling me anyway, and coming back to me around the dragon energy and how right now, today, as we're doing this recording on November 29th, Mars is with the eye of the dragon. It's also the constellation known as Scorpius by astronomers. It's the Scorpion by astrologers, and but it's also seen as a dragon by the Chinese culture. It's seen other cultures see it as a dragon as well. It's been seen as a serpent, and also it was seen as Maui's fishhook by the Hawaiian culture. So constellations have a lot of it depends on how you see it. So when it rises from Hawaii, I've seen this happen. It comes up just like a fishhook, but from where I'm at, it kind of goes across the sky just like a scorpion. So it's a lot of it is how we perceive it. So, but the eye of the dragon, and how are we perceiving our reality? How are we seeing things? Mars being right there, it only comes by this part of the sky every 2 years. The sun has already passed here, and in the next few days, the sun will be passing the heart of the scorpion, or the heart of the dragon. And that happens every year around December 2nd. When the sun will be with that star. So of course we don't see those stars when the sun's there, but the sun is illuminating their mysteries and transmitting them directly to Earth at that time. So it's pretty powerful. And if we think about the dragon energy or serpent energy, healing energy, the dragons are also about wisdom. They tend to have been depicted as the guardians of treasure. I was thinking about this today. I was like, oh, I live on Treasure Mountain. The dragons called me here because I have this thing with dragons and have my whole life. And so now I suddenly got a piece that came together, like an understanding, like, oh my gosh, I live on Treasure Mountain. Who knew? Anyway, so we have that going on. And then there's a star Dashuba that's around 3 degrees Sagittarius. It's like 250 something, but we just say 3 degrees Sagittarius to make it easy. And then there's another star called a crab. It's around 4 degrees Sagittarius. One is Dashuba. That's the southern eye of the dragon, and the other is a crab, is the northern eye of the dragon. So we've got this energy happening. Mars is going to be here for a few days. It moves about 1 degree every 2 days. So this energy is very, very prevalent. How are we seeing this world? How are we dreaming into this world? How are we showing up and having our attention and intention in a world where everyone is supported to be who they are? That's my mantra I keep coming back to. How are we dreaming into that, to that energy? And so a couple of other quick things before I pass this along, and that is that on December 12th, 12/12, is a new moon in Sagittarius. It's aligned with a star called Rasselhag in the constellation Ophiuchus, which is way above the ecliptic. So the ecliptic is the path the planets follow. And most of Ophiuchus is way above the ecliptic. They like to draw his feet on, or her feet, because I think it's more of a feminine energy, on the ecliptic. And then the scorpion or the dragon is below the ecliptic. And 12/12 happens to be the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And she's celebrated all around the world and one of the things I love about how she's depicted is she's standing in a portal of light with the light rays coming out from her. So I feel like we can tune into her and ask for her help and support and guidance at this new moon time in how we are dreaming into a new world, because Ophiuchus, being the serpent bearer, in the ancient times, the people would, in Greece, when they went to the healing temples, they put them to bed and then would ask them what their dreams were the next day. And that would determine how they would treat them based on what they were dreamed about. That would help them know what needed to be treated. So what are we dreaming into? And the this new moon is going to be aligned with a star called Rasselhag. It's the crown chakra of the serpent bearer. And also another thing to keep in mind is that in ancient Greece, it was the snake priestesses in the Temple of Delphi, the oracle. They were the oracles. And so they were connecting in with the serpent energy and bringing forth the prophecies, the oracles, the insights, that sort of thing. And so this new moon is going to be very closely related to this mythology and the stories that are connected to that as well. The next day, Mercury goes retrograde. And that retrograde time is a time for a new perception, seeing things in a new and different way. That if we're really locked into a certain way of seeing things, the Mercury retrograde can be very challenging for people. But if we have that more openness and willingness to see things from a new perspective, and part of it is because it's going retrograde in Capricorn, is the old structures and how are we getting ready to change them into new structures. Then it goes retrograde back into Sagittarius, back into the Scorpion, and the tail of the Scorpion, and it will go direct in direct alignment with the star Rasselhag in Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. Like all of this stuff is so connected. And then of course, the sun will pass Galactic Center, it's around 27 degrees Sagittarius, right before it goes into the December solstice time. And Galactic Center is where a lot of energy is moving from this black hole out into our galaxy. And many years ago, I saw a triune council of dragons that surrounded Galactic Center that were the guardians of this energy. So all of this seems to be very, very present for us at this time in terms of how are we going to engage it? How are we going to see it? And are we willing to bring back the energy? And if we think of dragon energy, serpent energy, kundalini, life force energy, I mean, it's already a part of us. It's been repressed, suppressed, and we're not always attuned to it. So our opportunity is to maybe really allow ourselves to feel that energy more alive within us as we are dreaming into the new earth, as we approach a new solar cycle that will be exact at the December solstice. So enough from me. I'm passing it on to Elizabeth to get her wisdom and insights.
Thank you, Kaylin. So I love this particular topic so much. I love that we were talking about the new dream, and December is such a nice time to do that because, especially in the north, it gets so dark. So it encourages the dreaming time. And I especially love that the Galactic Center is coming to play because now we have our electromagnetic field very lowered, and it's about 35 to 40% gone. And that means that this time, with the Galactic Center's energies for this solstice, the veil is very thin. So we get to receive the most precious qualities of light. And those qualities get to be woven into our experience. And that's what we came for. This is part of that 12,000 year cycle. So we're here to weave all of that in. And we've discussed before in one of our recent roundtables, most recent, around weaving and dream weaving. And all of this plays right in. So if we're looking at the dragon energy, what are they really? I think that people certainly can experience dragons in lots of ways. And I've experienced them in multiple dimensions myself. But the 10th dimension is where I often find them the most. And that dimension of consciousness is what I call the temples of the rainbow light. It's the temples of light. And it's all these qualities of light. And each quality, each wavelength of light has its own temples, its own libraries. And of course, that's how my brain perceives it, because I'm a big nerd. But the energies of these libraries, they also have dragon keepers. They have keepers of these qualities of wisdom. And they're really specific and focused. Each dragon maintains a focus on a singular aspect of our reality. And so they're representatives of these qualities of wisdom. And the dragons that are here on Earth in the fourth dimension, in the bardos, and of course, and they appear to us very physically as well. These are also really special, and they have a focus too. And so each of these dragons will maintain a focus, especially around a place or a element or a quality. And so I'd like to share a couple of dragons that are actually living in my valley in Ecuador. And these are known by the natives. And there's one dragon that they call the forest and the river dragon. And this dragon will appear by causing trees to grow in the shape of a dragon. And so on my mountain, in my view, all the time is this lovely forest and water dragon who's actually in the shape of a hook. And so he's really special because he represents that oneness between the water and the trees. And especially in Ecuador, that's key because the water and the trees create the clouds, and then the cloud forests nourish all the different animals. And so it's a part of that cycle. But the most special dragon is the cloud dragon. And not only have myself, but of course, many, many people and my own family members have experienced this very special dragon. And this dragon likes to sleep at the edge of the top of the valley, big, long, white dragon in the shape of a cloud, but he always has a dragon face. And at some points in time, the native people would always talk about the white dragon that would push the clouds down from the valley. And so there is a cloud dragon that pushes the clouds down the valley. He'll push them all the way down, and then he will come back. And so he'll come back up the valley, and sometimes we'll interact with him. And he's protected us from storms and different things like that. And he's very, very cool. He's ancient, and he's been there as long as the valley has. So these wonderful beings are very real, and they're interesting to connect to. And I encourage you, if you want to find some dragons, go, of course, into nature and ask, because they're all around. There's little bitty dragons and big dragons and all sorts of dragons. So they represent all that wisdom, and that's so precious for our dream right now. And the veil is thin. So you'll very most likely be able to, over these coming years, connect more and more to these beings. And the temples of light in meditation, just ask to be shown a specific quality. So perhaps you have a favorite color. Maybe it's green. There's temples of wondrous information around green. There's incredible libraries. Just because that one wavelength seems like it's just light, well, light is information. Light holds codes, light holds wisdom. And the galactic light is some of the most special light for our evolution and for our new dream. So we need to just open ourselves up to it. There's nothing really special you have to do. You don't have to change yourself or be better at being psychic or be better at dreaming. All that will come with intent. And so if you put your intention on it and open your heart right now, being human is a very special thing to be right now. So open up to it. It's all around. And certainly, I hope all of the dragon people, all the people who already connect with them, then can really feel that presence and bring it through for our big new dream that we're all working towards. And with that, I'll hand it off to Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Kaylin. What a fabulous conversation, huh? All about dragons. I was reflecting upon how they may manifest where we are, and I'm sure they do in much more magical ways than I can think of right now. But we have a very large lizard population here. And of course, the lizards are quite dragon-like, aren't they?
So, yeah, I love as well that you were referring to the galactic light and how the veil is thin, because as I was preparing to join you all today, I actually really didn't know how to be or how to speak or how to turn up. And it's interesting that just before us, because it's evening time here, I'd been sleeping. So I'm literally just kind of back from that dream time as well. And what came very much to me as I sat down here, because I always trust the process with our gatherings, that I will just know what I need to share in the moment. It's not a planned thing for me. And so I looked around me and I kind of thought, okay, so I have some beautiful beings just here with me, and I want to share some of them with you, and how they relate to how I'm seeing life like right now. So I do actually feel that we're on this huge cusp, where we can go back into our kind of like default selves and go, oh my goodness, it's winter and it's cold and it's raining and it's this and it's that, and everything is very tediously the same. Or we can actually just stop and go, hang on a minute, it's not. And there's this, in the way I'm seeing things at the moment, is just like this huge polarities opening up. And some days, or some moments of some days, I'm very much in one polarity, and then something will bring me back. And I'm finding myself more and more in what I would call a magic polarity, actually. So I would see the dragons as being very magical beings. Years ago, well over 10 years ago, I referred to a part of my business as magical. It was actually, I have a website that says is create a magical business. Now, I never really knew what that meant, and I guess I still don't really. But and then I kind of like veered off into this other, the same, but using different language. But in the last few months, I've been just coming back to those words and starting to use the magic word again, and finding myself as I do moving more into and through the veil. So on that level, or on that, so let's see if I can take this down without knocking everything off my desk, because I'm prepared really. Okay, so this is my cactus. She's quite heavy. Oh, there we go. So my beautiful cactus. I'll try and peek around the side and not set myself on fire on the candle. So the reason I love this being, and she's kind of been sitting with me, is that I was told, and it's been true in the time that she's been in living with me, that cactuses don't actually like sunshine. And so she lived on the north window of where we live all summer, and she didn't get the direct sunshine at all. And so here we are in November, almost December, when there is no light. Look what she does. These most extraordinary flowers come from this being who does not like the light. And they're quite solid, these flowers, and they're almost a little bit dragon-like, actually, aren't they? Look at that. You know how they have this very interesting way of being. So I just find her such a polarity, that she is so present and so vibrant, and her flowers are quite solid as well. And yet, where does that come from? Where does that extraordinary presence come from? Because it doesn't come, it comes out the darkness almost. So what a being of resilience, huh? Is that how present and alive you can be, even when you choose not to be in the light. And so the other beings that here are very different, but I think very similar. So I'm going to share with you 3 essences from the Wild Earth Animal range. They're a range made in the United States by an amazing guy called Daniel Maple. And he makes essences shamanically. So there's no animals involved. He doesn't have a dragon one, interestingly, but he creates them in shamanic ceremony, and they're very powerful, felt on the 3D kind of essences. They're really interesting. So this one I was using yesterday for some strange reason. I can't even remember anymore. But this is the bumblebee. You can't see it very well. And you may know that the bumblebee technically cannot fly because its body and its wings are not of the correct proportions. So the bumblebee is very much in our essence world a representative of doing what is impossible. So I use this essence. I haven't used it for a while, actually, when I need to do something or be something that feels really impossible. And so yesterday I was leaning into this energy, and it's a very priestess type energy as well, because of the bee energy. And it's very buzzy as well. I actually remember taking it quite a few years ago and actually getting a headache because it vibrated so much in me. It was like, it's really a very powerful essence. So a little bit like the cactus, it's just kind of like defying what we might see in our logical world. And then there's this other essence that, again, is a big polarity for me. This is a manta ray. So we have the cactus, which is possibly a fire being, and then the bumblebee, which is an air being. And here we have a water being. So this is a big manta ray. And these, again, they're very, very big beings in the water. I don't want to call them fish. It feels like, well, the right word. And this essence is all about being very moving fast, not necessarily fast in speed, but moving very efficiently where you need to go, because they're such big, can't say it, big beings, but they move very elegantly and swiftly and efficiently through the water. And so this is a beautiful being who displays such grace, such grace and ability to move in a very unique and otherworldly way. And then finally, an earth being is here as well. This is a lion, specifically a mountain lion. And these are beautiful. I love the cat essences that are created from this range. There's quite a few of them. I have quite a connection myself with cats, but the mountain lion essence is all about being gentle, but being strong. So finding those yang, forward-moving, courageous, bold energies, but being extremely gentle with them. Again, a polarity that potentially we don't really, well, certainly I might not have grown up with. So, yeah, so that's really what I want to share today. All these beings that are literally sitting here with me who are holding these seemingly beyond the veil qualities. And really, the last thing I want to share really is yesterday I spoke to Kathy Forrest as part of the Enchanted Summit that she is currently pulling through, which is also a very magical being. And we were talking about, well, I was talking about the polarities of running a business and how, and she was asking me one of the biggest things that I felt that I wanted to say about my own experience. And I was talking about how I had worked a lot with nature to find my own way and to be supported in my own way, which is beyond the veil. But also what came very strongly to me, and this kind of backs up what you were saying, Elizabeth, and it's what reminded me to say it, was that as well as working with these energies that sit beyond the veil and live in a kind of almost different universe, which is becoming more easily accessible, it's really also important that we're really human. Really, really important that we stay human and stay connected to our humanness and do what we're here to do as humans. And as I say that, I feel quite emotional, which just tells me that it's a huge truth. Let's just be human. Let's be who we came here to be. Let's not try to be something else. Let's hold on to these qualities of vulnerability, gentleness, strength. And with the help of the new beings of the new earth, we can do these amazing things. And so with that, I hand over to Nalini. Thank you, Nalini.
Thank you, Sarah and Elizabeth and Kaylin. What an interesting moment in the space-time continuum we're in. When Kaylin was speaking about the trinity of dragons that guard the Galactic Center, there are many such configurations, many such conclaves that guard openings here and elsewhere. And that particular trinity was transmitting while you were speaking and showing me the picture of the image that I had at last December solstice in 2022 of this 13 joules of transformation that would come through this year, which was speaking to the 13 full moons of this year. But what was holding them together was a chain of 3 strands, triple strands. So if you think of the way DNA looks, the way we draw it, but add one, it looks like that. And then each of these joules was showing up on that strand. And I hadn't noticed or realized perhaps until just now that that particular configuration of dragon energy, each of them were bringing a strand through this year. 2023 is going to be in all the books in every dimension. It's like, this has been the most incredible passage. You think of these strands of golden energy just woven together and streaming through this year and holding that energy. And this, I mean, the full moon was 2 days ago. It seems like lifetimes. And it happened, it's interesting, this Sarah was talking about polarities, like it happened in Gemini. And that tends to be thought of as mental communication, definitely air energy, but also polarized, either or. I mean, in traditional astrology, it gets that rap. And I think we're being uplifted. We're definitely being uplifted. That's been my experience this year. I'm a bit melted at the moment. I have no idea what this is here, except that there is a dragon being that has been sitting here. If you think of a dragon on its haunches and its tail kind of knitting, well, that's what's been enfolding me for days. So it's interesting that this came up today, but it's like the grandmother dragon, the grandmother electromagnetic energies of the cosmos are reweaving this world, and therefore every cell in our bodies. The mineral ally that showed up for this full moon was celestite. And celestite comes into being because a protozoan creature whose name and I won't think of it right now, Ankarth something. Anyway, I've written it down. Anyway, but it's a protozoan being, bonds with the element of strontium and creates a crystalline skeleton inside a one-cell being. And this is how this mineral forms. You know, we live within the miraculous all the time as seekers, light workers, awakened ones, whatever on this planet. Everybody talks about the light body. This is a one-cell being who simply creates one. So have we learned anything? I don't know. Maybe. And maybe that wasn't the point. Maybe learning in that way wasn't the point, because what I have felt through this year, and especially this week and this time and this moon and all of that, is that we could use a lot of ways to talk about it. We could say the world is turning inside out, and that's happening for us at the cellular level. It's an interesting metaphor. I don't know how apt any of them are, actually, but there's this explosion of new light coming in. And what I was shown, what, you know, grandmother knitting dragon here is kind of showing me, is that the strands of light that have come in, these huge infusions, we just had the 12th of 13. So there was a huge completion in October. And then this one, I wouldn't have known what to expect anyway, but I've said often lately that my range of superlatives is now reduced to wow. And it's just letting all of these come in, but there is an infusion from each of these beings of light, not just dragon form, but all of them. And they come in like a Tibetan purba, and it's not to pin down negative energy, but to infuse light into what is creating a new network. It's not quite there yet, but it's creating a new network. Now, in past ages, there was a network of light and electromagnetic energy that connected all of the pyramids. And this was a generative grid that helped power consciousness on the planet. This new one will act out a similar function, but in these very multidimensional, interdimensional, interconnected, collaborative ways that look a lot like the flower of life, but they're not that structured. It makes the flower of life look like somebody invented a cookie cutter. And it's just, this is all so flowing and so shifting and so changing and so powerful. And we are in that wave, and it's not going to crest and recede. This is not going to be an ebb and flow, that kind of duality. It's simply moving. Gaia's moving within it. The cosmos is moving within that. She's moving within it. Everything is shifting and changing. And even the dragons that guard the Galactic Center are saying, and we get a new job description. And we all do. You know, where I live near the Rockies, we get cloud dragons quite often, and photographing them is fun, you know. And but also you feel those energies are moving through the high places in the world right now. All of the mountains, the Himalayas, the Andes, the Rockies, the Alps of every nation. You could say landing there first, but it's not that. It's coming up and then moving along those ridges and birthing through the peaks and the valleys, which is a very feminine expression, this new network. Only it's not going to be in man-made structures or ET-made structures or whatever we want to think about them. It's coming through the natural world and coming through ourselves because it must. Because this embodiment, what everyone was talking about the importance of being human, it's, for me, that's the importance of being embodied, because this is the cohesion point. A body, anyone's body, grass, us, you know, is a cohesion point for these energies. And it is a point of light, a node in this new network that's being created. So at the moment, I'm living in a perpetual state of gobsmack. And it's melted everything that I was or knew or aspired to be. And I can report that it is the most weirdly wondrous event that has happened in this incarnation. I can't be the only one. So I think it's happening to everybody at every level. And it's how willing we are to pay attention to just the miraculous that's right there. It's right there in every moment just now. So I'd like to thank my sisters here, everyone who and what they've shared and how magical this is. And I would like to thank the dragons because they're back. And just how we can be open to that, as everyone here has said, is what will further the shift, however that goes. And we don't get to decide, and that's the good news. So our blessings to everyone. Thank you for being here.
I want to add too, because Sarah brought it up, is that I'll put in the show notes a link to the summit that's starting on December 11th that she was referring to. It's called Enchanted. How perfect is that? Elizabeth, Sarah, and I are part of that. One of these days, Lainey, we've got to get you to be part of that. I'm thinking, but you know, anyway, so I will make, if you want to sign up and be enchanted and have support and seen all of this in amazing ways, then you can just click on the link. It's free and you can get access to that. And then just another quick thing, manta ray is kind of like a water dragon, just saying, because it has a tail and it flies through the water. All of that. And then I loved what you were saying, Nalini, about the Gemini polarity, because it's one of the sayings I have for Gemini. It's not either or, it's both and more. It's way more than we can even imagine. So I just am so, so grateful for what we've shared here today. And I hope it inspires everyone to help us dream into this new earth, and to really invite the dragons to help support us in creating that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.